Crash and burn.
Hey everyone. So tonight I am going to be discussing the same team or the same duo of directors who were responsible for King Kong back in the 30s, and this is their 1932 offering, The Most Dangerous Game. This is starring Wray and Joel McCrea are in this, and basically this is based off the book, which is has the same title, of course, and it's about a hunter named Zaroff who hunts humans on his privately controlled island with his band of mercenaries and a team of really vicious dogs. And he purposely shipwrecks people who are nearby by misleading them and then causing the ships to break apart on the various rocks that he has set up on the edges of his islands in order to trap them, at first under the pretense of saving them and then becoming their friend and feeding them and clothing them and everything, but with the end purpose of hunting them like wild game on his island. Now, this movie is, of course, from 32, so technically there are a number of problems with it as far as when Joel McCrea's shipwrecks, Bobby, the character, when his shipwrecks, they're on their way to some big game expedition because Joel McCrea's character, Bobby or Robert, he is a world-renowned big game hunter who knows everything about like hunting animals. And when the ship breaks apart, I did find it to be a little too convenient. Like, all of a sudden he's next to his buddy and his buddy's like, oh my God, a shark got me. And he gets pulled down and he's gone. So, of course, you have to really let a lot of things go, given the fact that this movie is so incredibly old. It's going to be far from perfect. But nonetheless, this movie is still incredibly effective. I think my favorite scene in this entire movie is when Wray's drunken lout of a brother is sort of getting on Zaroff's nerves while Zaroff is attempting to entertain Joel McCrea's character, again, Bobby, this big game hunter, and trying to have like a big talk about how, he understands what it's like, and he's trying to impress Joel McCrea, and the brother, Wray's brother, he keeps butting in, and he's like, oh, come on, play the piano, do this, do that, and he's bumbling around because he's drunk. So Wray and Joel McCrea go off to bed, and Zaroff says to her brother, I think it's time that I showed you my trophy room. And it's at this point that one of Zaroff's mercenary buddies walks by right into frame and through the frame and out of frame on the opposite side smiling. And I absolutely loved that because they knew that Zaroff was going to hunt this motherfucker. And in a lot of ways I could agree, because despite the fact that her brother was technically harmless, he was kind of getting on my nerves too. So you knew he was going to be the next obvious one to go. And of course, this whole time Wray has sort of put together, or Wray's character story has put together, that something's going on, because originally there were a couple more people that were shipwrecked with her and her brother, and they went out at night and they never came back. Zaroff isn't exactly telling as to what happened to them or where they've gone. And before long, Bobby and Wray's character find themselves being hunted by Zaroff on his island. The cool thing about this was filmed at night on the King Kong jungle sets. So they were filming the movies at the same time. Both movies, of course, King Kong's impact was a little bigger, but that doesn't mean that the impact of this movie has exactly diminished at all over the course of time. This movie's been referenced dozens of times in other movies, and the book that it's based off, it was one of the first books I read back when I was a kid, and it scared the hell out of me just because of the concept of hunting humans. When I was that young, it hadn't really dawned on me that people were going to be hunting humans. And so when I read this book, it was like, oh fuck, this was like a big deal, And they did a really good job in capturing that mammoth sense of tragedy and skill it would take to hunt humans. This movie does a really good job of capturing that. And I loved the sets. I loved the trap they attempted to set to catch Zaroff. And in the end, there's a big battle back at Zaroff's estate or castle or whatever it is. And of course, he's sort of taken down just in time for Joel McCrea and Wray to grab a boat and fire off just as Zaroff sees them, and he tries to pull back his bow and he tries to fire one more shot from the balcony, from the window, that he's standing at, but he's too weak and he falls, and his body, well, technically he's still alive, but then he falls over the edge into his pack of wild hunting dogs, and it is presumed that they eat him, and that's how the movie ends. So, like I said, this movie is dated. It's how it handles female characters is so completely eye-rollingly bad. Like, Fay Wray's character could have been a lot more useful, but of course, all she did was stare up at the man, hoping that he'd solve all of her problems for her. So that was a little disappointing, but at the same time, it can't be too disappointing because this movie is from way back when, and that's how the world was. But nonetheless, this was an incredibly captivating and engaging watch. I've watched it a few times since I purchased this a ways back. It's a lot of fun. It's well made, it's well written, the characters are believable, and I absolutely love the scene with the mercenary walking by and smiling at Fay Wray's brother. So I think I'm going to leave it there. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for almost 6 minutes while I discussed the 1932 film adaptation of The Most Dangerous Game. If you liked this review or discussion or whatever this was, don't forget to do something nice for somebody. I'm going to go. Have a good night. I just wanted to say thank you for making it through the entire video. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to remind everyone one more time, even though I've probably already done this in the video that you just watched, to please click the like button as well as the subscribe button because it helps this channel grow. And thank you for hitting like and subscribe, and we will see you guys really soon.